let's break down the IPL teams for the 2024 season.
Let's start with one of the most successful IPL teams, and that is the Chennai Super Kings. We have a new captain for Chennai, it's Ruturaj Gaikwad. He's been doing well so far. All of his field placement, bowling changes have been impressive. Something that makes Chennai Super Kings a very successful team have always been their openers, and in this year we've seen Rachin Ravindra and Ruturaj Gaikwad open because Devon Conway is injured, so Rachin Ravindra comes in, and they have been doing well so far. Rachin Ravindra looks in touch, but he sometimes takes a bit of time to get going, but once he gets going, he reminds me a lot of how Michael Hussey used to go about his innings for Chennai Super Kings. And another X factor that I think is very important for Chennai Super Kings, who I think will also be considered in the T20 World Cup, is Shivam Dube. Now, Shivam Dube's form has been extremely impressive while playing for India and now coming through to the IPL. He is the number 4 batsman. He takes on the bowlers regardless of its spinners or fast bowlers. He's improved his game a lot against the fast bowlers, which is a great sign. And I think the openers and Shivam Dube are the crux of the Chennai Super Kings batting lineup, and they play a very important role. Sure, we have Ajinkya Rahane, Daryl Mitchell and Ravindra Jadeja who make the lower order, and we have MS Dhoni, of course. He walks in very late, but when he does, hopefully he does take on the bowlers like he did in the game against DC. Something that makes Chennai Super Kings a very solid team, and this has been going on since 2008, is the amount of all-rounders that they play. But this isn't the case anymore, especially because of the impact substitute rule. They don't need to play as many all-rounders that they used to. Also, where the bowling lineup is filled with actual bowlers and not all-rounders that can also bowl. So we have Patirana and Mustafizur Rahman as the overseas fast bowlers. They're doing a tremendous job. Tushar Deshpande last year got a lot of criticism because he wasn't doing what Shardul Thakur used to do. And now that Shardul Thakur is benched and Tushar Deshpande is being played, he's also picking up wickets and doing a lot better than a lot of people assumed he would.
Now, the next team we're going to look at is probably one of the worst teams in the IPL history, that is the Punjab Kings. Firstly, looking at their batting, they have a lot of English players in Bairstow, Sam Curran and Liam Livingstone, and I feel like Liam Livingstone and Sam Curran are going to be the X-factor players. Sam Curran is also being used or can be used as a floater in this batting lineup. Now, coming to the Indian youngsters, I think there are 2 that stand out. One is Prabhsimran Singh. A lot of people are touting this guy to have a really good season this time, and it'll be important to see how he shapes up. And of course, you have the wicketkeeper Jitesh Sharma, who has that extra motivation because he's also fighting for a spot in the T20 World Cup. Now, coming to their bowling lineup, they have a decently well-rounded bowling lineup with the likes of Harshal Patel and Arshdeep Singh in the mix of things. Now, Arshdeep is good up front with the new ball, and Harshal Patel, as we know, is really good at the death. One spinner that stands out for me is Harpreet Brar. Now, we did see how well he's performed last season and also in the few matches that have happened this season, and I think it's important that Harpreet Brar does well for PBKs to do well in the games, especially his bowling in the middle overs. That kind of helps get wickets and also restrict runs. Now, apart from the overseas batsmen, there are 2 players who might get to play in the middle of the tournament sometime, and that's Sikandar Raza and Riley Russo, depending on how the rest of the batters shape up. And lastly, there is one Indian youngster I think that they should watch out for, and that's T. Tyagarajan. He's a left-arm spinner who's bowled fairly well for Hyderabad, and I won't be surprised if he gets a go at some point in this tournament.
Now, talking about another 5-time winner of the IPL, the Mumbai Indians, they also have another captain this year in the form of Hardik Pandya. He has taken the reins. He's faced a lot of slack. He's got a lot of boos around the stadium and around the country. That team looks really interesting because apart from a few knocks, not a lot of batters look in form. Ishan Kishan's coming after a long break, and it looks like that he hasn't gotten going apart from that one game against SRH. Rohit Sharma also looks a bit out of touch, and this is the problem with Mumbai Indians. Their openers are struggling. Tilak Verma seems to be the only person from Mumbai Indians scoring runs. He is getting those starts, but I personally don't feel he's doing enough because he's played for India as an Indian player. I feel like he needs to take that little more responsibility and play a big innings that we know he can, and he knows he can. Hardik Pandya, the captain, hasn't taken off as well with the bat. He hasn't scored big again. And with the ball, he seems to be experimenting with himself. He started off with the new ball in the first match and then didn't in the second match and didn't bowl at all in the third. So he's been on and off with the ball, considering the fact that he will also be picked for the Indian team. Talking about that one overseas player that was very talked about before the IPL started was Tim David. He performed extremely well for Australia, but again, he's been struggling quite a bit in this IPL. He looks like he struggles a lot against quality spinners, which is again quite concerning because the rest of the IPL is also happening in India, and they will continue to face a lot of quality spinners. Mumbai Indians, for a lot of years, one of the reasons why they were so successful is because of how strong their bowling lineup was, and at this point it looks like it lacks experience. Apart from Jasprit Bumrah and Piyush Chawla, but that's with the number of games, it doesn't look like they have a quality bowling unit. The fact that they have to rely on a 17-year-old Mapaka, Gerald Coetzee, who according to me hasn't done much with the ball, even with the new ball. I feel like Mumbai Indians as a unit is struggling a lot, both with the bat and the ball. And even though they have the right kind of players to keep up the balance of the team, they're just not performing enough. With Suryakumar Yadav injured and Mohammad Nabi still benched, I feel like they could try an experiment because even Nabi can bat. Might also strengthen their batting lineup. But this is a very interesting Mumbai Indians squad, and it will be interesting to see how they continue in this season's IPL.
Now coming to the Lucknow Super Giants, I think their batting is extremely well rounded. They have a good mix of youth and experience and also a good mix of left hand and right hand batting combinations. But the thing is, a lot of their batters are blowing extremely hot and cold at the moment. Nicholas Pooran is going to be an X factor. He's in brilliant form, and I think if LSG is to do well, then they need Nicholas Pooran to fire, especially because their top order is slightly rusty, with KL Rahul getting the slow starts and Devdutt Padikkal also not scoring too many runs. Now in their bowling lineup, I think again they have a fairly talented but it's a very young and inexperienced bowling lineup. I feel like a lot depends on how Naveen Ulhaq goes. I think he's going to be a crucial bowler for them. We did see the likes of Mayank Yadav recently being launched into one of the matches, and he seems to be extremely quick, and he is going to bring that X factor to the bowling lineup, but it's going to be crucial to see how he goes over a long period of time. Apart from that, I think Ravi Bishnoi is key in the middle overs, and he's also their wicket taking option, so it's important for Ravi Bishnoi to also fire for LSG to win any of the games moving forward. Now, a couple of very interesting things is their overseas players. They have Kyle Mayers and also Matt Henry, who was just brought in as a replacement for David Welly. And we know Kyle Mayers can also open the innings, and he also bowls a little bit of medium pace, bringing in that all-round option. So I won't be surprised if he gets some game at some point in this tournament, and they will probably do that if one of their openers is not firing or one of their overseas players is not playing well. And lastly, coming to another youngster I want to talk about is Arshin Kulkarni. He also brings that all-round option. He recently played the Under-19 World Cup, so we know that he can do well, but this is a completely different ball game, and it'll be interesting to see if he gets a go at some point in this tournament.
Now, I find the Sunrisers camp a little ironic because when we had David Warner, the captain, they were so reliant on their bowlers. They were so reliant on their bowlers winning matches. And now when Pat Cummins is the captain, I feel like Hyderabad relies so much on their batting because their bowling is not the strongest at the moment. And the batting unit is very, very reliant on the overseas. Aiden Markram, Klaasen and Travis Head, I mean, they give them such a good start. And because they are such informed batters, and they have been such informed batters for the last couple of months, Sunrisers will be relying on them throughout the season and hoping they continue their form. One youngster that I like to look at, and Hyderabad's been backing for a lot of years, is Abhishek Sharma. He came in a couple of years ago, batted into the middle order. Last year he was given a go in the top order. Now he bats number 3 for Hyderabad, which is a good sign because he's such a talented batter. You can see that with the last couple of innings that he's played. Hopefully it continues because it's about time he starts showing what he's got in the IPL. And then we have Abdul Samad, the finisher. He hasn't come into play as of yet. He was given a long run last year. Hopefully he comes about and shows what he got, because he did finish a lot of matches for Jammu and Kashmir this year in the Syed Mustaq Ali Trophy. So he is also in form. It's just about time that he shows what he's got at the big stage, and that's the IPL. The bowling unit, a lot of people will agree that on paper it does look strong, but I just don't think they are in form, or I just don't think they're applying themselves enough to win matches with the ball alone. And I might be wrong. Things might change. It's a long season. Bowlers like Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Unadkat and even Umran Malik for that matter, they haven't been in the greatest of touches. And even Pat Cummins has leaked runs. They've been lucky that the batters have scored a lot of runs and the bowlers didn't have a lot to do. But throughout the season, we will see Hyderabad's bowling lineup being tested, and I hope for their sake they step up, because like I said, in David Warner's time, it was David Warner taking a lot of responsibility with the bat, and the bowling unit helped the team win. And this time it's almost the other way around. And so it'll be interesting to see how the bowling unit of the Hyderabad step up.
Now coming to another successful team that has won the IPL trophy twice is the Kolkata Knight Riders. They have a fairly decent batting lineup, but they too, like SRH, are quite reliant on their overseas batters, especially Phil Salt and Andre Russell, who are in decent form. Not to mention Sunil Narayan is back opening the innings at the top. We saw what he did against RCB. He absolutely demolished the opening bowlers in the power play, but that's something that's not happened consistently, and that's where I think the Indian batters come into the picture, that Shreyas Iyer and Rinku Singh, especially these two, because they are also prospects for the Indian T20 World Cup, which gives them that added motivation. And while Shreyas Iyer has looked to have his fair share of problems with the bat, it'll be interesting to see how he shapes up as the tournament goes on. Now coming to the bowling lineup, I think KKR has probably the strongest spin bowling lineup in the tournament. You have Suyash Sharma, Sunil Narayan and also Varun Chakravarti, especially on a pitch that might be slightly slow and aided to the spinners. These guys are going to have an absolute chokehold on the middle overs, and they're also going to pick up wickets consistently. consistently. Lastly, I think one Indian youngster that has stood out for me is Harshit Rana. We've seen him ball fast and hit the deck, but he's also mixed it up beautifully with the slower ball variations, and he's balled really well at the death. So I think that's something that's really heartening and something that's also long term for KKR. Now, obviously, one thing that we had to talk about is Mitchell Starc, and especially with the price tag he's been associated with, he hasn't come good in the games that have been played so far, and KKR will be hoping for him to turn it around because it's going to be crucial for Starc to pick up wickets if KKR are to do well.
Now, RCB is such an interesting team, and it's always been interesting because if you look at the top 5, they have Virat Kohli, Faf du Plessis, Glenn Maxwell, Rajat Patidar, and Cameron Green. You would think that they can either set any target that they want to or chase any target that they want to, but at this point, it only looks like Virat Kohli is in form and everyone else is trying to bat around, and including Cameron Green. And the only other batter that seems to be wanting to score runs in the team is Dinesh Karthik, and he's been splendid with the bat, finishing off games, batting with Kohli when he needs to, and he's bringing back his World Cup year form. But it's quite concerning, especially with Rajat Patidar, because this season should have been a very breakout season for him, and it might just be. It's only been a couple of games, but he had a brilliant first-class season, and then he played in the Test team for the Indian team where he struggled quite a bit, and now he's playing in the IPL where he's also struggling quite a bit, and it's quite heartbreaking because he is a talented batter. He can score runs. He scored runs in the IPL anyway. It's just about time, and hopefully he does come back into form and feel good again. RCB have one of the worst bowling lineups in this tournament, and it won't be a surprise if they concede a lot of runs or are not able to defend targets because they have inexperience written all over, and you know that when Mohammad Siraj is the head of your attack. I'm not saying Mohammad Siraj is a bad T20 bowler. I'm just saying if he's the head of your attack and if he's the best bowler in your team, then the bowling attack is not the best for T20 format. Add to that, and even Siraj is struggling at the moment. So like I said, RCB and their bowling needs to get a grip, because if they don't, they're going to lose out way before the second half of the season even begins. Another youngster to watch out for, and I'm hoping and I'm rooting because he's a wicketkeeper batsman, is Anuj Rawat. The fact that Dinesh Karthik's not keeping and Anuj Rawat's keeping says that he will get a lot of push and a lot of games this season, and I hope he does. And because if he does perform, he becomes almost another prospect in the Indian team lineup, especially in a team like RCB. If he starts performing, he will be known. A lot of people will be eyeing on him. So it's an important season for him, and I hope for his sake he does perform.
Now, coming to the Delhi Capitals, they started off their opening batters with Mitchell Marsh and David Warner before eventually switching to Prithvi Shaw and pushing Mitchell Marsh to 1 down. And I think that's a good move, and that's how crucial for the top 3 to score the bulk of their runs. Pant, as we know, is coming back after a long break, and he too will take his time to get into the tournament. But for India's sake, and I think for Pant's sake as well, it's going to be important to see how he shapes up in this year's IPL. Now, for me, the X-Factor players, especially in the batting lineup, are going to be Tristan Stubbs and Abhishek Porel. We did see what Abhishek Porel did in that first game, and if he can continue playing these kind of innings and finish matches for DC, I think there's going to be nothing like it. And Stubbs, as we all know, is a very talented batsman. It's about time that he starts scoring big runs for DC. Now, coming to their bowling lineup, I think they have a fairly experienced bowling lineup. You have Akshar Patel, you have Kuldeep Yadav, so all known names and all have the caliber to do well in T20 cricket as well. For me, the X factor here is going to be Anrik Nokia. He too is coming back from a kind of a break, and he's starting to get into the groove. If somewhere through the middle of the tournament he finds form, then he's going to be a handful for batters to face.
Now, Gujarat Titans is a team that we could do a case study on, because even when they won the IPL, they didn't really have a superstar player apart from Hardik Pandya being the captain, and even now, apart from Shubman Gill, who's a very standout superstar kind of player who plays for the Indian cricket team, they don't have a big marquee name. One youngster, and I think one of the only youngster in the batting lineup that I hope does really well, is Sai Sudarshan. The last couple of seasons have been really good for him, and this will only elevate him if he scores consistently. He comes in as an impact player, which means he only needs to bat anyway. And in the middle, we have Vijay Shankar and David Miller. They're almost the backbone of the team because they need to do well for Gujarat Titans to score big. We know Rahul Tewatia will come in and play that cameo with a strike rate of 160. We know he can do that, but Vijay Shankar and David Miller hold the batting lineup. Because of them, set targets and even chase targets for that matter. Their bowling lineup is a mixed bag because they have Rashid Khan and Noor Ahmed who are doing decently well. Mohit Sharma, who's almost had this reboot of sorts after coming to Gujarat Titans, he's been doing really well. But Umesh Yadav is yet to find his form. We know how he can be a hot and cold player in the IPL, and usually he's not that great of a player in the T20 format anyway. What Gujarat Titans need to do is go back to the drawing board and do what they do best, and that's playing as a team. And that's what got them to win their first title anyway. It wasn't that someone was standing out every match, it was someone stepping up every game, and they were and they still are the epitome of teamwork, and that is how they won matches. They don't need a superstar player as such, they just need players who step up in certain situations and can win them a game.
Lastly, coming to the Rajasthan Royals, who've been in excellent form in the matches that have happened so far. I think their batting lineup is a good mix of youth and experience, and again they too have a good combination of left and right handers. But one thing that might be a problem as they go deeper into the tournament is their openers not firing till now. Butler has been extremely out of form for the longest time, and Jaiswal, although he's coming off a brilliant test season, hasn't seemed to take off in the T20 format yet. Now, one thing that is really nice for the Rajasthan Royals is that Riyan Parag has started firing at number 4, and I think that's going to be a crucial position as it is in any team, and it'll be important for Riyan Parag to continue his form throughout the season. You also have the likes of Ravichandran Ashwin coming in at number 5, and also Dhruv Jurel and Shimron Hetmeyer in the mix. So I think it's a fairly well-rounded batting lineup, and they also have different kinds of batsmen who can play out various situations, so that's something that's there in their favor. Now also their bowling lineup is extremely versatile and probably one of the best bowling lineups going around in this year's IPL. You have Trent Bolt and Nandre Berger up front, who are brilliant left arm bowlers. You know, Bolt gets it to swing both ways, Berger has that pace. Apart from that, you have Chahal and Ashwin in the middle, who are world-class spinners, and they also have the special role assigned to Sandeep Sharma to bowl the death overs along with Avish Khan, which I think is working well for them. And yeah, I think in this sense, Rajasthan is one of the most balanced squads there is in this year's Tata IPL.
That's been a breakdown of our team. Let us know who you think this year's winner is going to be. Like, share and subscribe, all that good stuff. We have a lot of links in our description, Instagram, Twitter. We also have a blog, so go check that out if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.